And there goes Team Magma. They have left the room. Splendid, Erika. Both your seal and your red truth are perfect. Nanjo had the alibi of being with Erika until 3 a.m., and he didn't leave his room after 3 a.m. until morning. Erika made use of the seals on the doors, and was granted red truths from Burncastle one after another. For me, demanding that Beato repeat something had been about maneuvering and tactics, but it's totally different for Erika. For her, it's like having a trump card that can make red whenever she wants. This concludes the... Wait, she's talking right now. I am stupid. This concludes the proof of alibis for all suspects in the guest house. Any problems? I do have a problem, and that problem is, Beato racked her brains to find some point to latch onto, but Erika's red has been ruthlessly perfect. There was no point she could take issue with. Beato kept thinking hard, trying to fault Erika on something, but her expression was so wrought with desperation that anyone could tell by looking. Beato's complaint is rejected. I can't sense any problems at all. It's totally pop, cute, and perfect. Alibis for all humans in the guest house have now been proven. Wait a sec, Erika. Are you trying to leave me out of this? Ushiromiya Battler should have had a chance to commit the crime. After all, I was in the same room as the victims all night. I'm not gonna let you skip past this part while ignoring me. It is true, well, we already know Battler didn't commit the crime, because we were from Battler's perspective when he went to bed, and we still don't know whether or not George, Maria, Rosa, and Jessica were dead at that point anyways. They could have just been sleeping, and then they were playing dead when Battler woke up, and he pretended to find the bodies. Whoop-de-doo. Not to mention, Virgilia even said in red, Battler's not the culprit. Oh boy. At that time, an arrow twisted like a golden snake and hit me. It didn't pierce through me, but it slapped me hard on the cheek like a whip. Battler, your right to speak has not yet been recognized. Be warned. Ow! Damn it! Yeah, I understand, Battler, and my apologies. Forgive me. Erika! You still haven't shown an alibi for Battler. Battler is the man who was sleeping alongside the victims. Shouldn't he be placed under suspicion more than anyone else? Was the crime also possible for Battler, who was in the guest house? I'd like to see how she whittles her way out of this, even though we know he didn't do it. Beato's right. You can't go skipping Battler like that. My apologies. I had completely forgotten. After Battler returned at 3 a.m., you went up to the second floor with him, and I believe you also went to your own room and slept. You may have gone to the cousin room at 2400, but I don't think you went there after 3 a.m. Will you now claim that you went to crawl into Battler's bed later on? Well, if you say you were looking at Battler's sleeping face all night long to confirm his alibi in the cousin room, then I'd accept it, right? Yes, I listened to him breathing in his sleep all night long. Got a problem with that? Very much! Okay. That... What? Now that's just freaky. I, Fruto Erika, can prove that Battler returned to the cousin room at 3 a.m., that he went straight to bed afterwards, and that he went straight to sleep. And I can prove that until he woke up, noticed the gruesome situation the room was in, and let out a scream that nothing happened in that room. So you have no need to worry. Battler isn't the culprit. He's just the charming first discoverer who entered the murder scene without realizing it was one and slept until morning. That's insane. It shouldn't be possible for you to prove that with those seals you love so much. How can you prove this? That's ridiculous. At that time I entered the room alone. Erika probably went in her room too. How can she say something like that as though she saw the whole thing? She never said she saw it. The room Erika was assigned to, where was it located? Erika, please tell me, how can you prove so much about Battler? I'd expect no less from a true detective. My room was right next to the cousin room. There was only a single thin wall between them. You don't mean... You put your ear against the wall? To check what was happening in the cousin room? Yes. My ears are perfect. Right after Battler entered the room, I put my ear against the wall and checked to make sure nothing strange happened. You said you could prove that nothing happened until Battler let out a scream the next morning. You don't mean... You didn't sleep? Yes. I put my ear against the wall and listened in on that room until morning without sleeping a wink. Okay. Everyone was stunned into silence. She put her ear against the wall, and for the entire time until morning, she listened to what was going on in Battler's room. Just what would that have looked like? Until dawn, she had killed her breathing in a pitch-black room, clinging to the wall shared with the cousin room, like some kind of creepy venomous spider clinging to the wall of a darkened room. Why would she assume it had to be that room? Like, why is she thinking, oh, if a crime exists at all, it's going to be in the cousin room? The fuck? You can't just assume that. It could happen anywhere. Christ. Burncastle alone was grinning in triumph. Due to the progression of the game, I realized that Battler, the one who had received the head's ring, would be a key player. I was sure that Battler would be a victim of the first Twilight. Oh. Yes! So just as my master told me to do, I put my ear against the wall until morning without a wink of sleep, checking to make sure nothing unusual happened. Erika has a photographic memory, and her hearing ability is on par with the tape recorder. It would have been impossible for him to deceive Erika's ears, either to kill George and the others, or make those wounds on their throats. Fucking hell. It was impossible for Battler to commit the crime. I mean, we already knew he didn't commit the crime, but come on. Yeah, Erika doesn't exist, because she would not have done that. She could have assumed a crime might occur, but yeah, no. And if she does exist, she's ridiculously creepy. I mean, she already is, but still. It's an accepted power of the detective's authority. I have no choice but to acknowledge it. I'll confirm it in red. Ushiromiya Battler returned to the cousin room at 3 a.m. and fell asleep. After that, until the discovery of the crime, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary happened in the room. In other words, it was impossible for Battler to commit murder or damage the corpses. That's fucking ridiculous. The red from the pair forced Beato to show an expression of considerable anguish. Show me and no! You're not part of this! Wait, if all the pieces are gathered here, then where is the man on the phone? He's technically a piece, right? Then, well, we already know that the voice going through the phone was Lambda Delta, so it could have all been faked. Maybe the phone call never existed. Which, that would make sense given the games. Or it was just overwritten with something else with the portrayal of the game. Maybe it was just Kraus giving Natsuhi directions for the game that they're playing with Erika. It was only natural. Those red truths not only guaranteed Battler's alibi, but a number of other things as well. First off, it meant the murder was impossible for anyone after 3 a.m. And since the cousins were confirmed to be alive as late as 2400, the time period of the crime automatically became between 2400 and 3. That meant the alibis for all people who weren't in the guest house before 3 a.m. had also been guaranteed automatically. It is impossible for the crime to have occurred after 3. No, it's not! It's not impossible, fuck off! They were playing dead until after the quote-unquote discovery. And then, when the bodies disappeared, that was them moving themselves, and then they got killed somewhere else. That one hurts a lot. After 2400, Erika was in the guest house the whole time, so it should have been difficult for her to prove alibis for all of the people in the mansion. It should have been almost impossible to prove alibis for Eva and the others, but now all she has to do is prove that they never visited the guest house between 2400 and 3, and she can prove those alibis. Anyway, we'll have to construct it so that the murders were possible before 3 a.m. And we have to prove that it was possible for one of the people in the mansion to do it. The people who had been in the guest house all had alibis. The crime didn't occur before 2400. The crime couldn't have occurred after 3. In other words, there was no way for the murders to happen unless someone from the mansion committed the crime between 2400 and 3. Is it possible that someone in the mansion committed the crime between 2400 and 3? Again, it doesn't have to have happened between those times. Could have happened after, but I don't think anyone's gonna bring that up, and if they do, woohoo. If they don't, In order to protect Natsuhi, she had to establish that it was possible for someone other than Natsuhi to commit the crime. Ironically, the witch had to prove that a human had committed the crime. Still, this is getting pretty difficult. Until 3, Erika was in the lounge, and you have to pass through there to reach the 2nd floor. In other words, she's practically like a manager for the guest house 2nd floor. This tactic may be a bit overused, but if it was possible for someone to go up to the 2nd floor without Erika noticing, we should be able to prove that the crime was possible for anyone. It's probably possible for a human to climb up to a 2nd-story window if they really wanted to. Could there possibly be a way to reach the 2nd floor without passing through the lounge Erika was in? Yeah. I mean, we know there are ladders. Of course, Beto had also thought of striking back that way. And Burncastle must have thought this as well. I mean, unless the windows were locked, but then someone could have unlocked the window. Battler Nanjo Goda Kumasawa. We realized that the crime was impossible for all of these people in the guest house. However, what about the humans in the mansion? As I have already said, and as my master has even proclaimed with the red truth, I was in the lounge on the 1st floor of the guest house, and to reach the 2nd floor, one must pass through the lounge. In other words, it was impossible to reach the 2nd floor without me seeing it. And what if that wasn't impossible? For example, what if someone placed a ladder against the outside wall of the guest house and snuck in through a 2nd-story window? There must be a way to reach the 2nd floor without passing through the lounge. That way, it would be possible to reach the crime scene without you seeing it. Beato finally struck back. Before now, she'd let Erika take total control and attack her with the red over and over. During that time, Beato's counterattacks with the blue truth had been few in number, even including this one. Of course, I knew you'd try saying that. I couldn't have my lookout in the lounge become meaningless. So first, I must prove that my lookout was perfect. First off, because of how the guest house is constructed, it's impossible to reach the 2nd floor without me seeing it from the lounge. There are no places undercover, nor are there any physical or mental blind spots. My master, repeat it! It is impossible for someone to reach the 2nd floor of the guest house without anyone in the lounge noticing it. Though, of course, this only refers to reaching the 2nd floor from inside the building. Okay. Good, my master! Then how are you explaining that Natsuhi got there? So next is Lady Beatrice's theory that there might be a way to reach the 2nd floor from the outside. This really is a problem. After all, there are trees that could probably be climbed, and someone could have used a ladder. Even crawling up the rain gutter can't be ruled out as impossible. But I can't let you do that. Oh, you won't let me? And how's that? Did you stay up all night circling the guest house? No, you couldn't do that. You were in the lounge. From the lounge, you could only see a small part of the outer perimeter through the window. That's true. I couldn't prevent all methods of climbing up to the 2nd floor from the outside. However, I was able to prevent all entry to the 2nd floor. She locked the windows. Prevent entry? I had already foreseen this move. How terrifying that she would be so persistent. Because of how the guest house is constructed, the windows are the only method of entry from the outside to the 2nd floor. The locks? Not important at all. I only had to prove that none of the windows or shutters were opened even once. After I witnessed the location of the hidden gold, I returned to the guest house and immediately began severing all methods of entry to the 2nd floor of the guest house that didn't pass through the lounge. Yes, it's exactly the same. No different from the rest. Don't tell me. You use that seal of yours on all the windows of the guest house, in that weather, dressed like that? Well, I did have my swimsuit from when I drifted here. You're insane. At a house where you were welcomed as a guest, you did something like that in the middle of the rain, even though nothing had happened yet. For a normal human, it would have been an action so suspicious as to be completely impossible. However, she is the witch's piece. In the middle of all that rain, Erika sealed all the windows from the outside, to create an alibi showing that no one could have snuck into the guest house from the outside. She climbed up the wall herself, and did that to all the windows on the 1st and 2nd floor. No, to all things that could possibly have permitted entry. Although, after hearing that she'd listened to the cousin room all night long without even sweeping a wink, this new bizarre action didn't seem quite so impossible. This would probably also looked like a venomous spider. A disgusting spider crawling over the outside guest house wall during a storm. Erika, you are way too dedicated. How would you have even known to do that? I mean, I guess you're Burncastle's piece, so whatever. What do you think of this Ushiromiya family? Is this how you repay us for welcoming you as a guest? To a detective, the Ushiromiya family is nothing more or less than the stage upon which the crime occurs. Before the outbreak of the crime, it was important for me to memorize the names of the characters, memorize the layout of the land, and prepare for the upcoming crime by devoting my time towards collecting and creating all possible alibis. From my perspective, detectives who don't prepare anything before the outbreak of the crime are pretty third-rate. I just heard a knock. It must have been a bug hitting my window from outside. After all, we all know that someone will die wherever we spend the night. Furthermore, at the time the crime was discovered, Erika confirmed that none of those seals had been broken. That's why Erika wasn't the first one to reach the cousin room when the corpses were found. Even without inspecting the corpses, she could be certain of several things thanks to the Red Truth. It was more important to check the seals and construct alibis. My master is perfect. All I did was prove everything perfectly by following my master's orders. Well done, Erika. My double. My piece. What do you think, Lambda? Doesn't this prove that Erika's lookout in the lounge contains absolute reliability as far as constructing alibis? There is no way to reach the second floor without passing through the lounge. Alright, I'll accept that, but I won't accept that they died between 2400 and 3. Alright, and there goes that. So Genji, Kraus, people in the mansion, outside of 24 to 1. Yeah. Yeah, I acknowledge it. Erika, your seal is perfect. I'll acknowledge it in red. It was impossible to reach the second floor of the guest house without passing through the lounge, and impossible to reach it at all without Erika, who was in the lounge, knowing about it. Okay, I'm just gonna accept at this point that Erika exists. Thank you very much, Lady Lambda Delta. So, you know what's coming next, Great Lady Beatrice. Therefore, the time of the crime is limited to the single hour between 2400, when they were confirmed to be alive, and 1 AM, when our party in the lounge started. No. Stop, no. Get Motorcycle Gunman out of here. I've already said it, but at 2400, I went down to the lounge, hit it off with Dr. Nanjo, and was engrossed by a discussion of the mystery genre in the library until 1 AM. It's a bit embarrassing, but I grew so wrapped up in that discussion that I wouldn't have noticed if anyone had passed through the corridor during that period. Quite a regretful mistake for a detective. After doing all that maneuvering and setting up seals to guarantee a perfect alibi, she became too engrossed in a mystery discussion and left an opening. Her relaxed smile was completely shameless, the total opposite of her words. It almost seems like it's the other way around. It's enough to make you think that this was an intentional trap, to make it clear to all that only Natsuhi didn't have an alibi between 2400 and 1. In other words, it paradoxically means this. The only ones who could have reached the cousin room and committed the crime are those characters who have no alibi between 2400 and 1. Her eyes clearly hinted that Natsuhi was the only one who fit this description. No! It is only possible for the crime to have occurred between 2400 and 1. No, stop! It is incredibly possible. Don't remove that. Fucking no! No! No. It is very possible. They faked their deaths temporarily and were killed later. Like, come on. It's that simple. It should have been a crime whose time and location were completely unknown during that long night. But because of the alibis Erika had constructed, it had been limited to the time period between 2400 and 1. Erika left the cousin room at 2400. That marks the last confirmation that George and the others were alive. And after the party in the lounge started at 1, it was impossible to reach the cousin room by any method. Damn her! And from a mere human? This is quite bad. The night has been sealed up into an hour, and at this rate, there won't be many suspect pieces left. Damn it, Lady Burncastle! Nicely done. Unlike Battler, I'm not an idiot. After watching this game 5 times, I've got more than enough cards in my hand. Then let us continue. Let's examine the alibis of the remaining suspects, the people in the mansion. After all, we only have to worry about the single hour between 2400 and 1. That shouldn't be difficult at all. Let's start with 2400. At this time, Natsuhi, Kraus, and Genji are in the second floor corridor, and all of the others are in the first floor dining hall. This has already been shown by my master's red. Yeah, that's right. At 2400, Natsuhi, Kraus, and Genji were in the corridor on the second floor of the mansion. The rest of them were in the dining hall on the first floor. And as you know, there was a mysterious knock, and a letter with the one-winged seal on it appeared. The discussion surrounding that continued on until 1. I will say it with the red truth. Of all the people in the dining hall, not one of them left the dining hall during 1 AM. Excluding Natsuhi, Kraus, and Genji, none of the people in the mansion left the mansion before 1. I can accept that. I mean, it was said in red even. Until it's said in red that the crime had to occur between 2400 and 1, I'm not going to accept that. Since the possible times for the crime had been limited to between 2400 and 1, the adults in the family conference who were confirmed not to have left the mansion between 2400 and 1 all had proven alibis. And how do you intend to prove that? Erika's in the guest house. Did someone prove it by using one of your favorite seals on the dining hall door? You have no convincing evidence or proof. The red truth is simply truth, and there is no need to provide evidence, proof, or room for a counter-argument. You made that rule. This overbearing red truth hadn't only given alibis to the adults in the dining hall. It also gave alibis to Shannon and Cannon who had come to serve tea, and even guaranteed that they never left the dining hall. In other words, the only ones who didn't have proven alibis were these 3, Natsuhi, Kraus, and Genji. Now, there were only 2 left. If Kraus and Genji had their alibis proven, it proves that no one but Natsuhi could have been the culprit. Let's do Genji next. He's a victim, but you can't deny the possibility that he committed the crime in the cousin room and was then killed himself. And furthermore, though he was in the second floor corridor at 2400, he then returned to the servant room to transfer the phone call for Natsuhi and was completely isolated. Was the crime also possible for Genji, who was in the mansion? I don't think so. I mean, between 2400 and 1, I think, yeah, it is only possible for Natsuhi. But it didn't happen then. Hell, watch this all be, like, thrown out of the water at the very end if Battler says something like, oh yeah, George was alive. I talked to them before I went to bed. What? Fuck! Which means it was possible for Genji to commit the... I'll say it in red. When Genji finished transferring the call, he immediately returned to the waiting room. That's just a cold hard truth, without any evidence, proof, seals, or alibis. Got it? Cruel. Then, wait, wrong voice. Then, at 1 AM, there was another break in the family conference and Rosa returned to the guest house. At that time, I'm truly thankful for your cooperation, Ushiromiya Eva. Please rise! What did she do? Erika wasn't the only one, okay? I was also certain that something would happen that night. God damn it, Team Magma is back again. She's the person who taught me how to make those seals, and she helped me to check the alibis of those people under suspicion. During the break at 1, I went to Genji's waiting room and used the same seal as Erika. In other words, if that wasn't broken, it would mean no one entered or left that room between 1 AM and the next morning. The murder of Genji is also limited to the span between 2400 and 1. No! Death was faked! The death was faked! Now, Cannon and Kumasawa, please rise! Cannon rose expressionlessly, and Kumasawa got to her feet timidly. In the morning, you two went to wake Genji because he had slept in, right? And at that time, you noticed that the door was sealed, broke the seal, and opened the door, correct? The tape? Yes! I thought it was some kind of prank! I didn't think deeply about it at the time. I'm not asking for your opinions, just give us the fact. Did you break the seal and enter the room? Yes! Yes. With the red truth, I'll guarantee that Eva, Cannon, and Kumasawa's statements just now are the truth. At 1 AM, Eva sealed Genji's waiting room, and that seal was broken by Kanen and Kumasawa in the morning when the crime was discovered. This'll be a pain, so I'll add on some more. During the short break at 1 AM, the first two to leave the dining hall were Rosa and Eva. Until Eva returned, everyone in the dining hall remained there. After seeing Rosa off, Eva went to the waiting room and sealed it. Of course, she did not enter the room at all at this time. This is all information gathered from the people involved. It isn't a red truth without a basis. It's a truth due to proper reasoning constructed from testimony. Not only testimony, but the limits of scientific investigation such as collecting fingerprints were used here. After all, Kinzo's study is a treasure vault with all kinds of chemicals. I obtained all sorts of results to create an ultimate truth, infinitely close to a red truth. This isn't a science mystery, so I'll spare you the details. As Erika swaggered around the cathedral, she arrogantly touted her scientific knowledge. She had thorough knowledge of all the chemicals in Kinzo's study and had used them to conduct a scientific investigation, which had now been acknowledged and made into a red truth by Bernkastel. She didn't explain the details, but she had obtained results that were convincing even without the red truth. Collecting fingerprints with aluminum powder, component analysis of the mud under someone's shoe and various chemical reactions from the clinging rainwater. Erika just walked into someone else's study several times, and used several chemicals however she pleased, all without asking the family's permission. Wait, so she just waltzed on into the study? How? And when? However, no one could fault her for this. The pieces couldn't hinder any action the detectives might take for the investigation. That's the power of the detective's authority. You act like you own the place. From now on, I'll tell everyone I meet. If someone claims to be a detective, never welcome them into your house as a guest. That's probably a good idea. Giving shelter to a detective is just about the worst omen of misfortune out there. Because of this, it has been proven that it was only possible to reach Genji's waiting room and commit the crime between 2400 and 1 AM. And furthermore, by Erika's investigation, it has been proven that it was impossible for Genji to reach the cousin room. It had already been made clear in red that, after transferring the phone call to Natsuhi, Genji had gone straight back to the waiting room. And because of Erika's scientific investigation, further red had been added, saying Genji never left the mansion after 2400. Because of this, it's been made clear that Genji couldn't have reached the guest house, much less the cousin room. Genji has an alibi. I can accept that. Still won't accept that it had to occur between 2400 and 1 AM. Because seriously, it is possible! Okay, so just Kraus and the people in the mansion besides Natsuhi. Which I don't know why that one still shows up. Now, only Kraus and Natsuhi remain. Everyone else has had their alibis proven, haven't they? Impossible. Natsuhi's mouth flapped open and shut like a suffocating goldfish. And that's an accurate analogy. Natsuhi's mind was blank and spinning out of control, and she felt as though she would really suffocate. Ushiromiya and Natsuhi, I'll give you one last chance. Confess that all of the crimes were the work of your husband. Fool! Do I look like the kind of woman who would falsely accuse her husband? Beato, Natsuhi's denied it. I'll give you the same chance. You understand, right? Or wait, don't tell me. You aren't going to take advantage of the fact that Kraus is missing to try and pull a devil's proof on me, are you? Was the crime also possible for Kraus, who was in the mansion? Probably not. They're gonna pull some red truth out of their ass and just be like, oh, yeah, he went to his room and stayed in his room. Beato realized that they were rapidly approaching the end of this battle. Normally, Beato should have been able to argue against these alibis of Erika's in several ways using the blue truth. However, all of those alibis had been accepted by Bernkastel and Lambda Delta as red truth, and Beato no longer had any room to argue. It's like those witches are distorting things so that they match with the plotline Erika's drawn up. That's right. If the Game Master, Lady Lambda Delta, accepts the truth, its authenticity will not be questioned. The world that comes after will be formed based on the final remaining truth. This happens no matter how far this final truth is from the real truth. There's no way Uncle Kraus is the culprit. He's being held prisoner somewhere. Wait, We can't deny the possibility that Aunt Natsuhi was skillfully tricked into believing that during the phone call. Do you suspect Natsuhi and Kraus, Battler? Well, Erika's truth has been constructed in a cowardly fashion, but it is a proper truth. Though the witches did conspire with her, it has still been acknowledged as a red truth. In other words, it cannot be a fake truth built solely on lies. This means that even Erika's truth is supported by logic. The truth about Natsuhi and Kraus being culprits is also very possible. Even if it's a mixture of truth and lies, it makes sense logically. It's a mixture of truth and lies. That is just as valuable as truth is. Which of those two truths will you believe? That is up to you to decide. No. I'll trust Aunt Natsuhi. And Uncle Kraus. I realize they're in some money trouble. But even so, I don't want to believe that they're the culprits. No, I can't believe it. On this game board, where the red is steadily cornering Natsuhi, how do you intend to let her escape? I don't know. However, I seriously don't want to give up. Aunt Natsuhi was just caught in a cowardly trap. Erika's reasoning has fallen for that trap completely. So whether it's intentional or she's being manipulated, Erika is aiding the true culprit. Erika has accused Aunt Natsuhi of being the culprit, but even if everyone here believes that, in fact, for that very reason, I want to be the one person who trusts Aunt Natsuhi. If everyone believes it's her, will that become the truth? If everyone accepts a lie, will that become the truth? Must an honest person be dragged up to the guillotine, all alone and taunted by liars? I don't like it. If no one else will believe in Aunt Natsuhi, then I will. The real truth isn't something that's determined when everyone accepts it. It's something you find after thoroughly investigating both possibilities. So this trial is a downright lie. This trial exists for no reason other than to set Aunt Natsuhi up as the culprit. Beato is doing all she can to plead Natsuhi's case, right? Wrong. Beato is trying to refute Erika's argument. She's just defending. You can't fight in this trial by simply resisting all of your opponent's claims. This is why Beato always cornered me in the past. She isn't gonna beat Erika by finding flaws in her reasoning. She has to find a different truth and show Lambda Delta, the commander of this game, that her truth is more correct than Erika's. Can anyone create a truth where Natsuhi isn't the culprit, without violating the red truths that Lady Burncastle has shown? I don't know. But as long as I don't believe that Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit, there's got to be a different truth. It's even okay if the culprit for the crime was a witch. That's better than having Natsuhi be framed by an incorrect truth. So, no matter how much red truth you are shown, you won't believe that Natsuhi is the culprit, correct? Yeah! For all things, there should always be some people who believe, and some who don't. No matter how much evidence is stacked up against her, someone has to believe that she's innocent. There must be several truths in the world that cannot be proven with evidence. I don't ever want to accept that something's true just because everyone says it is. How can you be sure that there's nothing on the backside of the moon if you've never seen it? Is there some reason that you have to believe it? Until you see the back of the moon with your own eyes, you can deny neither the possibility that nothing's there at all, nor the possibility that there's a thriving culture of space bunnies. You should never assume something is the truth until you actually check it. This court is a malicious thing, trying to force a single interpretation on a truth that cannot be checked. I believed there was a civilization on the backside of the moon, but that was in elementary school, and I was made fun of and laughed at. So I thought it was embarrassing to think that a civilization lived on the moon, and I threw away that belief. I'd been told by a book my mom read me that rabbits lived on the backside of the moon, so I believed that for a long time. But when everyone said it was wrong, I abandoned that truth without even trying to check it. Even without evidence, I abandoned the truth I believed in. And now everyone is starting to believe that Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit, even though no decisive evidence has been shown. Even without evidence, Erika's words sound reasonable, so they're probably the truth? Is that why you're throwing away your belief that Aunt Natsuhi is innocent, despite a lack of proof? If no one else will believe, then I will. I believe the real truth only appears if you look with both eyes, one denying and one affirming. No matter how much she tries to make us believe that Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit, I believe she isn't. I won't abandon that belief. Understood. Then I will give you just a single red truth. I will give this single bit of power to you. now that you possess the will to fight in the truest sense. Power? By the name of the finite witch Virgilia. No, as the former witch Beatrice, I will grant you this red truth. Ushiromiya Natsuhi is not the culprit. Well, duh. Well, there we go. A plea bargain. If you acknowledge that Kraus is the culprit, Erika will suspend her pursuit of Natsuhi. From then on, the investigation will proceed assuming that Kraus, whose location is unknown, is the culprit. What do you do, Beato? At this rate, Natsuhi's in serious trouble, right? We accept the plea bargain. If you're willing to abandon this Ushiromiya family honor thing, Byrne will be kind enough to let you get off with a draw, okay? Kraus is currently missing, and it's unknown whether he's alive or dead. Like Kinzo, he's no different than a cat in a box that has disappeared into the mists of the island. A cat inside a box is unfixed, and no interpretation of it can be denied. It is the root of endless interpretations. The true source of the Endless Witch's power. In other words, no matter how much Bernkastel claims that Kraus is the culprit, she can't make that the sole truth. In other words, the Kraus culprit theory and the witch theory can be in almost perfect balance. It would mean making the game a draw. This was cajolery, offering her a second chance if she abandons the honor of the family she swore to protect, and consents to a fragment that stomps all over that honor. There's no room for false confidence. For Beato, to lose is to die. In this game, she should always choose a draw unless she has an overwhelming advantage. I will allow you to treat my husband like the culprit. My husband is the successor to the Ushiromiya family headship, the only person who will inherit the glory of the Ushiromiya family. I will never let you treat him like a criminal. Are you sure, Natsuhi? If you refuse to suspect Kraus, then you'll be the only one left. Alibis have been proven for everyone else. In other words, Hempel's Raven! Even without any evidence, it will be determined that you are the culprit. And if I'm the only one left, then what then? I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. I will not run or hide. I am innocent, and I am the representative of the noble head, with the one-winged eagle engraved into my heart. If you wish to insult me, go ahead. If you wish to ridicule me, do as you please. No one can damage my honor with a mixture of truth and lies. With a dignified voice, Natsuhi stated her case openly before the witches above her. However, this response of hers might have been exactly what Bernkastel had intended. Natsuhi refuses the deal. And you, Beato? You understand, right? The instant Natsuhi is specified as the culprit, Lambda will make her verdict. As soon as that happens, the illusion of the witch will be denied, and you'll disappear into the mist. Do you plan to let Natsuhi's foolish bragging drag you down to the depths of hell? Riichi, you fought well. This is our chance. Convince Natsuhi and try to work out a compromise. Both Lady Lambda Delta and Lady Bernkastel have boredom, not you, as their true enemy. They probably want to have this game repeat and play some more. If they see that you're willing to make a concession, they will most likely accept it gladly and move on to the next game. If we move on to the next game, then what will happen to the Natsuhi of this game? The Natsuhi of this fragment? Now isn't the time to be worrying about that, right? Natsuhi is just a piece. Even if she gets removed from this game, she'll show up again in the next one. But that doesn't apply to you, milady. I believe you know what the Lady Bernkastel plans for this game. It's a more realistic goal to make use of that and aim for victory in the next game instead. Accepting Lady Bernkastel's deal might be our one and only good option right now. Throw away that useless pride of yours! Neither Kasparov nor Deep Blue won every game. The person that wins more games wins in the end, right? If a witch gets too attached to a single match, a single life, a single piece, that witch dies. My apologies, but I cannot do that. I know the strength of a man who believed even though everyone said he was wrong. And I know the suffering he went through when he was forced to abandon that belief. I will not abandon Natsuhi. Why? Because if everyone else suspects Natsuhi, then someone has to believe in her. Because truth can only be found in the gap between those who doubt and those who believe. I won't abandon her. Even if everyone believes that Natsuhi is the culprit, I will still claim that I, the witch, am the culprit. If I can't even make that claim, my existence isn't worth anything. I cannot lose. The truth isn't something that anyone gets to deny. Only when you doubt and abandon it yourself does it disappear. Is that your answer, Beato? Yeah, of course I refuse. Ushiromiya Kraus is not the culprit. Ushiromiya Kraus is not the culprit. Okay. That wasn't 100% proven, but it's being rejected then. Was the crime also possible for the people in the mansion besides Natsuhi is the last one? Even though I feel like that should have already been denied at this point, given everything else. Fool. I won't let you take that back, okay? Here's what you get for being a quick-tempered moron. By the name of Burncastle, Witch of Miracles, I speak with the red truth. Ushiromiya Kraus is not the culprit. And he was killed long ago, shortly after you heard his voice over the phone, get it? So, not Battler, not Erika, not Kinzo, not Natsuhi, not Kraus. I'm assuming when the red truth says, this character is not the culprit, that means it applies to all the games. Right? I don't know. No, dear. Crying is impossible for me. Burncastle's cruel and ruthless red blade gouged Natsuhi. It was totally merciless. Natsuhi had been crushed with uncertainty, not knowing whether Kraus was alive or dead, but she had still been capable of believing that he was alive. And now, that hope, that expectation, had been crushed, without any chance for a miracle. She had thrown herself into this trap out of concern for her husband's safety. She had now lost her daughter and husband, and everything she had gained since marrying into the Ushiromiya family. And you know, now that I think about it in that context, with that red truth, the phone call did happen. And whoever the culprit is, was the person Natsuhi was on the phone with. So she was talking right to the culprit. So then who? Oh, it actually shows Kraus dead here. Was murdered sometime after the early morning phone call from which Natsuhi learned he was still alive. His corpse was not found, but his death was guaranteed by Burncastle with the red truth. Okay. So, she was on the phone with someone, she said was like roughly 20 and male. And, well, the only 20-year-old, roughly, like, people within that time range who could probably pull off a voice like that, George, Battler, Goda, Cannon. Problem is, not George, not Battler, probably not Goda. But the thing is, I don't think Cannon is the culprit across all the games. Like, he's suspicious, and he has the ability to, but I'm still way, way, way more suspicious of Shannon. But how could she fake a voice? Well, unless she's just an incredible voice actress, there's no possible way she could fake a voice that makes her sound like a 20-year-old guy when she's an 18-year-old girl. Granted, it was shown, like, Natsuhi was mistaking that voice for, well, Lambda Delta was on the other end, but the thing is, the phone call existed, Lambda Delta cannot interact with it at all, meaning it could not have been Lambda Delta on the phone with her. So who? Kinzo's dead. Not Kinzo. Kraus, Hideyoshi, George, Jessica, Maria... I'm confused, but I'm still most suspicious of Shannon, but I'm starting to get more suspicious of Cannon, too. I mean, it could be something like they're the fucking murder power team or some shit like that. Like, who knows? No, even after all this, one thing still remains. If her husband has been lost, then right now she is the last person who can protect the honor of the Ushiromiya family. She still couldn't let it end here. Even wrapped up in so much sadness, Natsuhi would do all she could to protect that honor. With this final bit of strength. Nope, it's all over. It's been determined with the red truth that none of the remaining people in the dining hall left that room until 1. In other words, alibis have already been proven for everyone except Natsuhi. Everyone in the mansion besides Natsuhi has an alibi. Oh boy. Here it comes. And the list is dead. Well, shit. Even though we know it's not Natsuhi. Oh, what was that? It just flashed something on screen. Well done, Erika and Burncastle. You've fully proven that the crime was impossible for everyone except Ushiromiya and Natsuhi. Why don't I start reading aloud from the verdict? At 2400, on October 4th, 1986, the defendant, Ushiromiya Natsuhi, left before the others while pretending to return to her room to sleep, and murdered George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, and Genji, one after another during the 1 hour period before 1 AM. Let me tack something on. Due to circumstantial evidence, include the murder of Kraus. Yeah, that's right. In this situation, it's unthinkable that anyone except Natsuhi could kill Kraus. A revision to the verdict. During the hour before 1 AM, Kraus, George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, and Genji were killed one after another. It's only possible for any of these murders to have taken place between 2400 and 1. The only person without an alibi during this time was Ushiromiya Natsuhi. From this point forward, the defendant will be treated as the true culprit. Furthermore, because it has been fully proven that the crime was possible for humans, Beatrice, and the Switch, this court of illusion hereby denies your existence. You'll be given a chance to plead your case, but can you prove an alibi for Natsuhi? Or can you prove that it was possible for someone other than Natsuhi? If you can do that, Natsuhi will stop at being one shade short of absolutely guilty, and the denial of your existence will be put on hold for this game. If Natsuhi had an alibi, Beata would have shown it long ago. In fact, wasn't the whole point of that trap to make her lose her alibi? Even if her alibi is not proven, I will believe in Natsuhi's innocence, no matter how much you try to pin your fake truth on her. I am the true culprit! Natsuhi is innocent, even without any proof! The truth is known only by the master of the night on this island, Beatrice the Golden. I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Now that my husband has passed away, I am the head of the Ushiromiya family. My determination will not bend, no matter how you try and humiliate me. Why, you ask? It is because Father gave me permission to engrave the family crest of the one-winged eagle into my heart. How do you intend to disprove the existence of this honor with your evidence and your alibis? You cannot! The Ushiromiya family crest engraved into my heart is immortal. Now that Natsuhi and Beatrice had practically been placed on the guillotine, they cried out with all the strength of their determination. No! However, that did nothing but bring a cold smile to Lambda Delta's face. Erika had constructed a truth that Lambda Delta could accept, and no one could construct a more convincing truth to deny Erika's. In that case, the most convincing truth would swallow up everything else and become the one and only truth, even if it happened to be different from the real truth. The truth of those in the past is swallowed up by the truth of those in the future. This can happen even for a mixture of truth and lies, as long as everyone acknowledges it as true. Sheesh, stop howling already. I like it best when witches sob and beg for their lives when they're about to be burned at the stake. When they try and bluff like you do, it's such a killjoy. In that case, I guess I'll send you one final gift. A red truth to smash that bluff wide open. What do you mean? Stop it, Lady Burncastle! Hasn't it already been overwritten with the truth you wished for? That truth and Natsuhi should be able to coexist. Please don't defile it. Please? What truth? The one overwritten? Natsuhi, when did Kinzo ever say it was okay for you to engrave the one-winged eagle into your heart? Those were just the words of the Kinzo from your delusions, weren't they? You know, the real Kinzo. Not once in his entire life did he ever trust you from the bottom of his heart, and not once did he ever consider letting you bear the family crest. Ouch! When that heartless announcement was made, Kinzo stood up. Natsuhi! You need not listen to this. No one can defile the crest engraved in your heart. That is yours alone. Don't let your pride as the final family head be forgotten forever. Natsuhi! Just shut up and disappear, you miserable delusion of Natsuhi's. Oh boy.
You cannot erase me! You cannot erase my soul! Not as long as the crest is engraved into Natsuhi's heart!
That's enough, you lying illusion. The real Kinzo wouldn't say that. Disappear. You, the illusion of Kinzo inside Natsuhi's mind, beautified by Natsuhi to suit her own purposes.
Natsuhi.
A bright red flash of lightning smashed Kinzo over and over again as he screamed. Oh boy. Well, damn. First off. Then he crumbled like a doll and sat back down in his chair as though nothing had happened. The fierce emotion had left Kinzo's face. He had truly become like a wax model. And so, he would never again share kind words with Natsuhi. Did it actually show? No, it doesn't. I thought I heard the, raindrop or something. I don't know. That's right. The true Kinzo never once trusted Natsuhi during his entire life. The true Kinzo never once considered allowing Natsuhi to bear the one-winged eagle. Because of course, Kinzo had already vanished before the start of the game. The Kinzo that appears in this game is nothing more than Natsuhi's delusion. Every part of this Kinzo, who believed in Natsuhi and entrusted her with protecting the family honor, was a phantom created by Natsuhi. Pitiful woman, you will now face the truth, that you never gained Ushiromiya Kinzo's trust as long as he lived. Natsuhi, don't cry! Kinzo entrusted the Ushiromiya family to you, right? No, he didn't. Not only did he not entrust her with that, he never even said hello, or met her gaze even once. Natsuhi's cry was a mixture of sadness and many other emotions, and it echoed throughout the cathedral. Natsuhi could no longer stop her tears. Some last, faint element that had cheered her up until today, that had allowed her to endure as an Ushiromiya, as the wife to the head's representative, and as the final family head, had been torn to bits. Natsuhi no longer had anything left. Natsuhi could no longer allow herself to even call herself an Ushiromiya. Those difficult days, those painful days. Those days where she still gave everything she could for the family she'd married into despite it all. The very few happy days among these. All of these flitted through her mind one after another. And disappeared. All of those once beautiful memories were then crushed by Bernkastle's red truth. Smashed to bits and scattered, plunged deep into her hands, and smeared red with mournful blood. It was the red of sadness and truth. That is all. Just because the crime exists as it does. Oh, wrong voice. That is all. Just because the crime exists as it does. This level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, everyone?
Boo, you stink!
Shut up! Who are you? Lambda Delta clapped. Then a bit later, Bernkastle also clapped, looking pleased. The expressionless, wax figure-like audience followed suit, and the unshakable verdict was welcomed with a great applause. And so, the truth of this tale was decided. And then Battler stood up and was just like, no, it wasn't! Oh, my phone's ringing. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in this parlor. And, with one exception, it has been shown that none of them have committed murder. Ooh, we're back at the beginning part. And the culprit is among these people.
Whoa, whoa. In that case, it's conclusive, isn't it?
Unless the culprit is a witch who committed murder with magic, that is. It was you? You killed George? Killed my husband? Why? Why? I didn't kill anyone. didn't! In a panic, and with a voice that was far from calm, in a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsuhi denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Aunt Natsuhi, and said it one more time. You're the culprit, Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Red-faced and tear-streaked, Eva walked up to Natsuhi and grabbed her by the collar. Then wordlessly, she slapped Natsuhi's cheek. Natsuhi, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by the taste of iron, which she was feeling for the first time. It turned into a scuffle between Eva and Natsuhi. Battler immediately tried to stop them, but Eva planted a sharp knee into Battler's gut and he doubled over. Give them back! Give back George and my husband! Why did you kill them? You murderer! Murderer! Sobbing, Eva kicked Natsuhi, who had fallen to the ground, over and over. Battler tried once more to cut in and stop them, but he was brushed aside. And after that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's names over and over, Eva kicked Natsuhi, and kicked her. Then she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon and throwing it. Natsuhi was hit with a steaming teacup, and a can of black tea, whose tea leaves fell all over her. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up, her cheek slapped so many times that it started to swell. No one tried to stop it. It wasn't because they were worried about Eva kicking them too. It was because they thought it an appropriate act of retribution for a person who had lost her beloved son and husband. A proper retribution. A proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted that Natsuhi was the culprit. They accepted the truth Erika claimed. So it became a proper truth, and Natsuhi was designated as the proper culprit. She had already lost a husband and daughter who might have protected her, and even Kinzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, had already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe her. She was now the true culprit. Eva's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. Apparently her anger still hadn't abated. Erika patted her shoulder and made Eva take a step back. Of course, this wasn't to protect Natsuhi from violence. It was to further humiliate Natsuhi, now that she had been branded as the culprit. Natsuhi, I've solved 2 of the 3 riddles. The whodunit and the howdunit. The final riddle, the whydunit, must always be confessed by the culprit herself. Please follow the rules of the mystery genre and confess. The whydunit refers to the motive. If this was a third-rate mystery, you would let out a high-pitched laugh about now, confess to the crime, and start telling the story of her sad past. Don't tell me you intend to make me explain that part as well. I am not the culprit! Someone believe me! I just had my husband taken hostage, was threatened, and fell into a trap! Natsuhi, with her hair a mess and her face red and tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her gaze, because it had already been resolved that Natsuhi was the culprit. Because Lambda Delta had acknowledged that the culprit of the tale was Natsuhi and had woven it that way, none of the pieces would pay any heed to Natsuhi's, to the culprit's words. Natsuhi isn't the culprit! I am the Golden Witch Beatrice! I am the one who commands Rokenjima's night, and who has reigned since long before the time you were all still scared of the dark! Why can't you just call it my sin? Why must you suspect Natsuhi? Acknowledge me! I committed all the crimes! There's no way a human is the culprit! The illusion of the witch had already been crushed, and Beato's voice didn't reach anyone. The verdict had already been made. Everything had been decided. No one can hear you. You're a phantom. A mere illusion. Go back to being a simple portrait. You're a faint phantom of a witch, born when Kinzo shared his illusion with his relatives. That is the truth chosen by this world. So, Great Lady Lambda Delta, now is the time for you to bury the ridiculous and foolish illusion that this witch claims is the truth. Oh boy. Goodbye, Beatrice. I made you a witch expecting that you'd either become my friend or help distract me from my boredom. And you've answered to my expectations. The second one, that is. I am a witch. Even if Lady Lambda Delta doesn't acknowledge it. I'm a witch. Oh, sure. But you wouldn't even be capable of believing that if I hadn't become your guardian in the first place. Yep, this is game over for you. You'll be buried in accordance with the rules of your game board. What happens to the losers in your game again? Behato's already shown that clearly in a previous game. You get made into a mound of living flesh before being tossed into the goat's dinner party and getting chewed to bits. Now there's a fitting end for you, Beatrice. And I did come all the way here just to hear the death cries of one as haughty as you. Oh boy.
Goat, 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 goat.
One by one, a massive number of goat attendees slipped out from the shadows of the pillars and began to fill the cathedral. The goats paid no attention to Natsuhi, who was seated in the center, but the crowd completely enveloped her. From Behato's point of view up on the balcony, it probably looked like a huge boiling pot of goats. That's right! The contract has been like this since the beginning. Yep. Our contract said that whenever you stopped entertaining me, you would relieve me of my boredom with your life. Come, strip the title of witch from this woman, and throw her into the pot of goats! Suddenly there were goats standing right behind Beato. They lifted her up roughly. Let me hear some nice screams. You're the wine I've been fermenting all this time. Then perhaps refusing your request will be my final strike back at you. Yeah, I made her say it. The best screams always come from a girl who's just said some tired line like that. Fall, Beatrice! The goats carrying Beato no longer viewed her as their master. After holding her above the pot of clambering goats, which were snorting heavily in anticipation, they threw Beato's slender body into the air. All at once, the squirming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though they would be able to forget their pain for just a short while by devouring her flesh. As she flew through the air, Beato tried to smile boldly, but it was so stiff that it seemed even more pathetic, much to Burncastle's amusement. When Beato fell into the pot, the goats caught her. Of course, they didn't do it gently. The arms of countless goats pulled at her flesh to keep it for themselves. They tried to tear her to bits. It didn't have to be flesh. Hair, fingernails, shoes, even bits of her dress worked just fine.